first reaction was, oh, fantastic. I get paid to talk, and Ashley's asked me to talk about anything I want for 20 minutes, and then sheer terror. What do you do? An academic is paid to talk about areas of expertise, but what on earth am I going to talk about in 20 minutes? It was terrifying. And my wife this morning was giving us a laughing, looking at me saying, you've done this for years and years and years, why are you terrified? But, I'm terrified. So, when I was thinking about what I was going to talk about, two things struck me. The first is, in my classes, I give all my students the so-called Proust questionnaire. It's a fun little thing. And one of the questions is, when was the last time you were really, really happy? And the answers are amazing. And the thing that I found really interesting is the difference between what the students tell me and how they act in class. In class, they're listening to me, hopefully, or a lot of the time they're on Facebook, or updating the tweets, or emailing people, or texting. And even when I give them a break, instead of sitting down and chatting to each other, they're updating Facebook again. But never have I had an answer to that question which said, what makes me happy is updating Facebook, or tweeting something, or phoning someone. The answers have always been talking to someone, doing something, physical outdoors, reading a good book, having a good conversation, having a good dinner, enjoying wine, not reaching 2,000 people on my Facebook page. And that's what struck me about what is actually happening inside the classroom. And the other thing is, when you look at people, we want to make an impact. We want to make a difference in our lives. But you've got to realize that we're all going to grow up to be astronauts. We aren't going to save the world. We aren't going to cure all cancers. We aren't going to solve world hunger. But there are things that we can do. At times we do feel powerless, but that doesn't excuse us from doing nothing at all. And this is where, when you look back at people, you think, what little things can they do? This woman is a meat geese. She, for 3 years, every day when she arrived at work, would make a tray of coffee and take it upstairs to the top part of where she worked. And there she'd share her coffee and biscuits with the people living at the top. She did this for 3 years, every day, chatting, spending an hour with the people in the room. The people were arrested because they were there illegally and taken away by the police. And then of the 8 people, only 1 survived, and Frank's father. Luckily, he found a diary and published it. Meat Geese, after the war, was given a medal and mass accolades, and she said, I didn't do anything special. We did our duty as human beings, helping people in need. She did a small thing, a very small thing, and it didn't turn out well. Even though she did small things, terrible things happened. But she did something. This criminal also did a small thing. She refused to get off her seat in Birmingham, Alabama. And she started a civil rights movement in the States, the bus boycott, which resulted in massive political change. A small thing started because she refused to deal with racism. She didn't lead any marches. She just said, I'm not going to take this anymore. I'm going to do something about it. This is Nelson Mandela. And he did great things. He saved the country. He spent 27 years in prison. But for me, just the little things that he did. I was living in South Africa at the time that he was released and that he was elected president. At the time, there was a threat that the country would collapse, that mass killings would occur. And what he did was a couple of very little things. On one side, he was leading the country, but one of the most important things he did was he went and had a cup of tea with someone. He went to a small little town called Oranjestad, in the middle of South Africa, and he had tea with this little old lady. She was very, very happy to see him, which is very ironic, because her husband designed apartheid. That's Betsy Verwoerd. Betsy Verwoerd's husband put Mandela into prison. His entire system ensured that apartheid happened, and apartheid continued very, very well for decades. What did he do? as president, with all this power behind him, went and had a cup of tea. A little thing that had a massive impact in society. That cup of tea had more of an impact on maintaining stability in the country than putting more money into the police force or arresting the people who engaged in part. A little thing. Now these are great people, but what can we do? And I look around and I think we all want to make an impact, we want to make a difference. But how do we do this? And the advantage of teaching at hundreds of teaching courses that I've never even thought about before, and one is ethics. What I like to do is take the ideas from ethics into my life. And one of the most important philosophers is Immanuel Kant, German philosopher. And he argued that we must try to follow our lives through what's called categorical imperative. There's one very important aspect to that, and that is the actions that you do must be universal. So no matter what you do, you must be happy if everyone else does the same thing. And that struck me a couple of weeks ago. Near where I live is a Starbucks, near where everyone lives is a Starbucks. And there's a little road that leads to the back of Starbucks where there's parking. And every weekend, someone has parked their car on the little road, blocking everyone else because they are too lazy to drive the extra 10 meters to park their car to walk and get coffee. I thought, why? There's disabled parking over there, but you block the road. There's a car park just over there. You're blocking the road for everyone else. Why can't you just do the extra step? How would you feel if someone blocked you in? And this is universality. This is another part of Kant's arguments, is that we must treat people as an end in themselves, not a means to an end. And I think we must split up our days into little things. Treat people as human beings, as Geese did, as Mandela did, as Rosa Parks did. Universality. Aristotle argued that in order to be good, we must train ourselves to be good. We lead busy lives. Our days are filled with work, more work. And when we're not working, we're getting emails and saying, please answer this right now. It's incredibly important. A study that came out last week said that for some people, they spend 2 days a week, equivalent time answering emails. What I'm forcing myself to do from Aristotle is that every day I carve off 20 minutes where I sit and have a cup of tea and I read a newspaper, or I look outside, or I think. I switch off all electronic gadgets. I do a little thing. Or while I'm at work, I force my colleagues to come for lunch. And the rule is no electronics. And for that half hour, we have lunch. We discuss, we think, we chat about anything and anything. But it's not, oh, halfway through your idea, I have to answer a text. Switch it off. Just spend half an hour just doing something. Learn to take the time, because if you don't take the time, there's always going to be another email to take up to fill that void. Peter Singer, a US philosopher, argues that we have a moral responsibility to do little things. He argues that we in the West are rich. And for the price of a cup of coffee, we can do great things. For $1 or $2, if everyone contributes X amount on the campus, there were 6,000 people here. For the price of a cup of coffee from each of us, it's $12,000. That would make a massive impact in Canada or elsewhere in the world. A little thing. Here in the gallery, 2 weeks ago, there was a little competition. Consisted of 6 little words of what advice would you give yourself before you came here, what it's like to look at number now, and where do you see yourself in 2020. And it was a great success. Because in my mind, it was simple. Because you could tell the students, you can make an impact. You have a story to tell us. We want to learn. So, in my mind, we have to look at the philosophers and look at it One, act as if your actions should be universal. Treat people as a means to an end. That is, when you go and chat to someone, chat to them as if they're a person, even for 5 minutes. Have a good conversation with someone. Carve off the time so that you can have lunch or a cup of tea with someone just with them. And from Singer, do something. Your tiny little actions will make a huge difference. You might not realize it now. Rosa Parks, I'm sure, did not realize when she refused to move off her seat that she was going to change the United States. Mandela, you could argue, planned his cup of tea. He lost a lot of support from his supporters, but he helped save the country. In the end, we're all little individuals. But if we do things together, we can make a difference. And in the spirit of the importance of little things, this is a little talk. Thank you.